My Hero Academia Chapter 227, Sleepy. So another fun chapter coming from a great arc that just keeps getting better. Yes, this chapter wasn't the most exciting, it wasn't a banger, but that's fine. You know, we're coming off of a week break. We're also coming off of the ending of Toga versus Curia, so this chapter is kind of just like a bridge to connect to the next big part. I mean, we did get some development in this chapter. We got some cool sequences. But like I said, this is just more like a bridge, a transition to the next big part of this arc. But other than that, let's get into it. So we're opening up with Toga coming off of her battle with Curious, and she's like pretty much done. Like, I think this is letting us know that she's not going to be in the rest of this arc, at least not in combat, because she's like more or less crawling into somebody's shed in some backyard to like die. I mean, she's not actually going to die, but she's pretty darn close. I mean, she even goes on to say, "So this is how it feels. Again, it draws near." So I guess this is also letting us know that she has been close to death in this similar situation before. I mean, I don't think that's too far-fetched considering the life she lives, especially post-school when she became like the assassin serial killer that she currently is. But, you know, if she's not in the rest of this arc, it's fine. She has put in her work. She has had some fantastic chapters. So, you know, we've got her backstory, we got her development, we even got a new advancement on her quirk. So Toga is, you know, pretty good for this arc. If she is sitting out for the rest of it, that's fine. So after that, it cuts to Redestro and that guy Tomoyasu with the bangs. He's also the board member of the IT company Feel Good Inc. Like, his whole character is like a homage to the Gorillaz, the band. But we're getting more development on him. I think this is the most dialogue he's ever had in this arc or in the series so far. And the way that he's treating Giran is letting us know that he's kind of like a spazzy nerd, like psychotic type. You know, the way that he's talking to Giran, like, "Oh, you can't make deductions and you can't make connections. Your neurons are disconnected. You can't even count to 10 without saying the numbers in between." You know, he's like real neurotic. So it's kind of interesting, and it makes sense considering the position of IT that he holds. But also, they're like letting us further know what the true motivations of the Liberation Army are. I mean, we've known throughout the arc so far because they keep reiterating it, but this is just giving us more insight into what it actually is. So we saw the security cameras a few chapters back when Curious was in battle with Toga. And, you know, we all kind of had speculations as to what is exactly going on with the security cameras. I mean, of course, they are keeping surveillance on the League of Villains, but there's more to that. And I saw some of you guys in the comments actually did predict that what they were using the security camera footage for was to basically make like propaganda out of it. So props to you guys, whoever came up with that. I don't think I thought of that at first, but, you know, in retrospect, it all does make sense. So they want to use the security footage from these cameras to paint like this picture that they are like, you know, they are actually the victims and that they're overcoming the League of Villains, and that they want to show that, like, okay, so we don't have any heroes in this city, but we were able to overcome these forces of evil, aka the League of Villains, by just using our civilians. Like, we worked together as civilians, we weren't held back by laws, we used our quirks, and we overcame this threat. Like, we didn't need the heroes to do this. So I suppose that they're using this to motivate other people that would be watching it, to be like, you know what, yeah, we don't need heroes. We have quirks too, and we don't need to be bound by these laws. I want to join the Liberation Army. I want to be liberated. So this is also showing us why they didn't immediately kill the League of Villains, because if they really wanted to, they probably could have. I mean, they knew where they were at all times with their satellite. They had all the information that they got from Giran. So if they wanted to, like, roll up on them with, like, 50,000 dudes, I'm sure they could have taken care of them if they wanted to, but it's showing us they know they had a specific motive for why they needed the League of Villains to be alive, and that's because they needed to use them for this little propaganda film or whatever they're trying to make here. So after that, it cuts to Ground Zero, and we see the League essentially like in horde mode in a video game. Like, even Spinner's like, they don't stop coming, no matter how many we defeat, it just, we can't keep going like this. And then he asks, how long until he wakes up? And we're getting confirmation that Gigantomachia will not wake up for another hour and 20 minutes. So yeah, that's pretty much an eternity at this point. Not just because of how manga time goes, but just, you know, because of the League of Villains in a city where all or 90% of the population is fighting against them. So this is like, you know, an hour and 20 minutes might as well be forever. But it's also reassuring us that Gigantomachia is going to show up in this arc, and judging by this time, it's probably going to be at the end of this arc, whenever that happens, how many chapters from now. But we also kind of knew that this was going to happen for sure when this initial plan was set up a few chapters back, where they're essentially using Shigaraki as bait to lure Gigantomachia to him and inadvertently take out the Liberation Army in the process. So I think that's where this is headed. I mean, it's likely going to be like when they are completely have their backs against the ropes and all hope is gone. You know, Gigantomachia just shows up Goku style. But there's going to be like a little twist on it because, of course, he's not trying to save them. He's just inadvertently saving them. So he might be fighting the League of Villains simultaneously with the Liberation Army, or after he takes out the Liberation Army, then he goes on to take out the League or Shigaraki just when he thinks that, you know, everything is working for them. And maybe that's the moment when they truly get to tame, quote-unquote tame Gigantomachia and prove themselves to him, or at least Shigaraki does. So then we see that other commander, Hanabata, the politician of the group, and he goes around, you know, just spouting rhetoric on top of a van. So I guess he's more of like what they are saying, the bishop role. Like maybe he's not even a fighter. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm sure this guy is going to fight somebody and has a quirk, but I don't know, maybe he's just not as hands-on as the other commanders. But I do like the way that they're handling this, because it is like a religion, the way that they're saying. I mean, this is more than just a coalition or a group of people who are looking to be liberated. I mean, the way that they're acting is totally like an extreme religion. I mean, they are literally dying for this cause. So if anything was more like a religion, it's totally this. So then it cuts to Shigaraki, and he goes into like this weird trance where he's sleepy, because we know that he hasn't had a lot of sleep, because for a month straight he's been fighting Gigantomachia on and off. So I think he's been getting like, I don't know, 4 hours of sleep every now and then, something like that. I mean, it has to coincide with when Gigantomachia sleeps, but it was said that he can go like 48 hours straight without resting. So Shigaraki, and I assume the rest of the league, or most of the league, has been through quite the ordeal here, so they are kind of on edge. They are on a lack of sleep, but it still doesn't matter. I mean, just they've also been getting training all that time, so they've certainly improved, but, you know, at the cost of their sleep, and we're seeing that develop in this chapter, because he goes into kind of like a hallucinated state, you know, like, because when you stay up long enough and you don't get enough sleep, you do start to hallucinate. I mean, it's not healthy to do this, but it does happen. And I suppose that's kind of what's happening with Shigaraki here with this panel that we see, where he's like, oh, it always gets like that when I get sleepy. I see things moving that shouldn't be moving. You know, this is typical of just lack of sleep, you know, like I said, hallucinations and stuff like that. But this is further triggering Shigaraki to go into some kind of flashback. And this is where things get really interesting, because this is the first time we're seeing Shigaraki acknowledge that Nana is in fact his grandmother. It was only revealed to us back when All For One was fighting, One For All was fighting against All Might, and then, you know, it's kind of just been touched on here and there through third parties, but never Shigaraki himself has been like, yeah, I'm Nana's grandson. Yeah, Nana was a great hero and also the mentor and teacher of All Might. It never really happened until now. So it's interesting to see his perspective in all of this. So in the flashback, we see Tomura's perspective looking at his sister going into a drawer to pull out the picture. And apparently it's a secret. Like their parents or their foster parents, whoever is in charge of them at this point in their lives, didn't want them to know that Nana was their grandmother. I remember that Gran Torino said that he wanted to keep it a secret in order to keep Nana's enemies away from her family. So I guess this is part of that, although there could be another motive here. But interesting enough, when we do see the photo of Nana, it looks like she's with her original son, because it's definitely not Tomura, or it's not somebody else like that, because this character that she's holding is way too young for, and, you know, considering that she's the grandmother in all of this, I can assume that this is Shigaraki's dad as a child that we're looking at. But as we get to the end of the flashback, it seems to cut off there, and he can't go any deeper into it. And this is also like a recurring thing for him. He's like, if you're going to show me something, then at least show me the whole thing. It's like a broken record. Ah, damn it. But I'm not really sure where this is going. I mean, maybe it's showing us that Tomura has some kind of empathy deep down inside of him, because he says it feels so warm and tender. Ah, just why is it? Just like I assume that he's fondly remembering this moment with his sister and finding out things about Nana. They also talk about what his dad says about how, because I'll always be cheering you on, Tenko. There's a lot more to this, but I don't want to go too deep into it, because I'm sure that we're going to get this expanded upon as the chapters go on, but I'm just not really sure where it's going. Either it's showing us that Shigaraki has some kind of humanity left in him, or I don't know, something tore it away that led him to killing his whole family. I theorized in the previous chapters when we first got his backstory that it is All For One who somehow possessed him or gave him the decay quirk without him knowing, and then activated it, you know, at the worst possible time when he was like touching his family or something, and that's how they all died. I don't think that Tomura willingly killed his family. I don't think like his quirk just manifested and then it was an accident. I think this was all premeditated by All For One, because of course he knew that Tomura was Nana's grandson. I mean, we know that Yujiko, the doctor, can like remove memories from people, because he says like, do you want me to fix him? Because, you know, when Shigaraki found out that he killed his family and he put all the hands on the table, he like started to freak out. So it's possible that All For One did put it in him, the quirk, and then had Yujiko erase his memory of that. So maybe the more Tomura goes into his flashbacks and he like goes more into his repressed memories, he might, I don't know, just somehow randomly be able to uncover that lost memory of All For One giving him the decay quirk and essentially being responsible for the death of his family. That might be where things are going, but even if he does uncover that, I'm not sure where it's going to take his character. I really think that Tomura is beyond saving at this point. Like, he is just completely damaged beyond all repair. So after that, it brings us to possibly the most gnarly sequence we have ever seen in the series. I think this one panel alone is definitely the most gruesome single panel in this series. And it's when Tomura just straight up decays the dude to his face. Like, swipes through his face. Man, this looks so awesome. Very, very gruesome for a shonen. But hey, I'm on board with it. Man, this guy just gets completely wrecked. Like, I wish we saw more sequences like this. So brutal and awesome. But also we see this great panel of like mad members of the Liberation Army all just decaying together after just one seemingly single swipe from Tomura. But then we get some confirmation after that from Spinner that in fact his decay did propagate through multiple people even though he didn't touch them. So what's happening here? I assume that if Tomura uses his decay quirk on someone and they are touching or making contact with someone else, the decay is going to spread to them as well. I don't think it's like a vicinity thing. Like if you're standing within 5 feet of somebody who got touched, they're going to disintegrate too. I don't think it's that broken. I think you need to be making contact with somebody who is in the process of decaying. But also, I don't think this just developed on the spot. I don't think Tomura's quirk has evolved at this moment. I think it's possibly always been this way, but we've just never really seen it work out the way that it has, because, you know, the way that they're just like a horde all grouped up, you know, rubbing up against each other trying to get at Tomura. I think this is like the perfect opportunity for it to finally be revealed that his quirk has always worked this way, similar to what I think happened with Toga. Like how she has always been able to use the quirk of the person she copies. She's just never really had the opportunity to use it until this arc. We're also getting like this oddly cool panel of Tomura like drooling. I guess this is called Ahigao, or however you pronounce it, like the lustful face. I mean, it's not directly doing that, like his eyes aren't quite right the way that, you know, the girls that do the Ahigao thing are, but it's kind of similar to that. It's pretty funny. He's just in so much enjoyment from just disintegrating all of those people. But he's also, you know, kind of like half conscious because he's so tired. So he's kind of like in his own little personal pleasure zone, I'll say, right here. But after that, it takes us to the end of the chapter where Dabi is encountering one of the commanders from the Liberation Army. So this is the commander that we know the least about. I don't even think we got a name on this character. This character has kind of just had their head down every time we see them. Doesn't really have any dialogue or anything like that. But it's revealed that this person has an ice quirk. So how interesting is that? We got the little contrast dichotomy here between the fire user versus the ice user. So does this mean that this person is somehow related to Todoroki's? Because, you know, the ice quirk is prevalent in them. I mean, it comes from Rei Todoroki, so probably not. I mean, some people think that this might be the case because, you know, ice and the face is hidden. So maybe that's for a reason. Maybe this person has a significant identity that maybe correlates to Dabi in some way. Or maybe this ice quirk is going to make Dabi think about some things. Maybe we're going to get more into Dabi's backstory in this fight because, hey, we've been doing it so far with the other villains that we haven't gotten into yet. Like, this arc has totally unzipped Toga and Tomura. So, hey, why not Dabi as well? I mean, this is My Villain Academia, so come on, let's get into Dabi. Let's finally, you know, get the reveal that he is Toya, because I think that's where it's going. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about this chapter. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, it's a bridge in between the two big parts, but man, I'm really looking forward to seeing Dabi go all out. Also, really looking forward to seeing us getting into Dabi's backstory for once. So let me know what you think about all of that in the comments, and if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a Discord server. We do hangouts on there. Also gives you access to a weekly Q&A video that I do. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.